Public health officials have determined that secondhand cigarette smoke causes diseases including lung cancer and heart disease in non-smoking adults. They have also concluded that secondhand smoke, which is the combination of the smoke coming from the lit end of a cigarette plus the smoke exhaled by a smoker, can exacerbate adult asthma and cause eye, throat, and nasal irritation. Today I will be explaining how tobacco can harm your body as well as others around you, and why smoking in public places such as airports and restaurants should be banned. We have the freedom to choose if we want to smoke or not. However, not everyone knows the actual side effects of smoking, not only to their own bodies, but to those around them as well as the chemicals others inhale. Hydrogen cyanide is a highly poisonous gas used in chemical weapons and bug sprays. Benzene, which is found in gasoline. Formaldehyde is a chemical used to embalm corpses, and carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas found in car exhaust. These are just a few of the chemicals that get into your lungs when you breathe in secondhand smoke. Those who choose to smoke increase their risk of getting coronary heart disease, a stroke, and lung cancer, just to name a few. Now, how about those of us who choose not to smoke, yet are still exposed to it at restaurants and other public areas? Secondhand smoke can cause heart disease, a stroke, and lung cancer in adults, but what about our children? It can cause ear infections, more frequent and severe asthma attacks, respiratory symptoms such as coughing, sneezing, and shortness of breath, respiratory infections, as well as increasing our children's chances for getting sudden infant death syndrome, also known as SIDS. Let's take a closer look at these health issues caused by secondhand smoke. Exposure to secondhand smoke has immediate adverse effects on the cardiovascular system and can cause coronary heart disease and stroke. Secondhand smoke causes nearly 34,000 premature deaths from heart disease each year in the United States among non-smokers. Non-smokers who are exposed to secondhand smoke at home or at work increase their risk for developing heart disease by 25 to 30%. Secondhand smoke increases the risk for stroke by 20 to 30%. Secondhand smoke exposure causes more than 8,000 deaths from stroke alone. Breathing secondhand smoke can have immediate adverse effects on your blood and blood vessels, increasing the risk of having a heart attack. Breathing secondhand smoke interferes with the normal functioning of the heart, blood, and vascular systems in ways that increase the risk of having a heart attack. Even brief exposure to secondhand smoke can damage the lining of blood vessels and cause your blood platelets to become stickier. These changes can cause a deadly heart attack. People who already have heart disease are at especially high risk of suffering adverse effects from breathing secondhand smoke and should take special precautions to avoid even brief exposures. Secondhand smoke also causes lung cancer in adults who have never smoked. Non-smokers who are exposed to secondhand smoke at home or at work increase their risk of developing lung cancer by 20 to 30%. Secondhand smoke causes more than 7,300 lung cancer deaths among U.S. non-smokers each year. Non-smokers who are exposed to secondhand smoke are inhaling many of the same cancer-causing substances and poisons as smokers. Even brief secondhand smoke exposure can damage cells in ways that set the cancer process in motion. As with active smoking, the longer the duration and the higher the level of exposure to secondhand smoke, the greater the risk of developing lung cancer. Here we have a story of a man who experienced secondhand smoke. Nathan, a Native American and member of the Oglala tribe, had permanent lung damage. He never smoked cigarettes, but for 11 years he worked at a casino that allowed smoking. After breathing people's cigarette smoke daily, Nathan began to have frequent asthma attacks, triggered by the secondhand smoke. As he worked at the casino, Nathan noticed more changes to his health. Along with asthma attacks, he started having frequent problems with eye irritation, headaches, allergies, ear and sinus infections, and bronchitis. Over the years, the symptoms got worse. A common cold escalated into pneumonia, sending me to the emergency room, he said. During one of the visits, a doctor was looking at x-rays of my lungs and commented that I had the lungs of a heavy smoker. I told him I never smoked a day in my life. In 2009, doctors determined that Nathan's airways were seriously damaged by repeated infections from exposure to secondhand smoke, which led to scarring and widening of his airways, called bronchiectasis. Lung cancer from bronchiectasis is permanent. His lung problems were so serious that Nathan finally had to leave his job to avoid the smoke. Just walking a short distance, he would get out of breath and had to use oxygen daily. Nathan prided himself on being a very active person. As a young man, he served in the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines Reconnaissance Division, where he received sniping training. He also raced motorcycles and received sponsorship from a major motorcycle company. Nathan participated in tribal dance competitions and loved to referee at high school basketball games, which he did for 14 years. "I can't do any of these things anymore," he said. Nathan decided it was important to share his story, with the hope that others would not suffer as he did. He spoke at schools, powwows, and conferences as much as his health allowed. He wanted to make everyone aware of the dangers of smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke. Young people were a special passion for Nathan. He urged teens not to start smoking, and if they did, to quit. He encouraged everyone to protect children from secondhand smoke. "I never smoked. Look what happened to me. I want to make people aware of the damage that exposure to secondhand smoke can do to you." The secondhand smoke Nathan was exposed to permanently damaged his lungs and led to his early death. He died on October 17, 2013. He was 54 years old. As I stated earlier, we have the freedom to choose if we want to smoke or not, but looking at all the health issues that come along with secondhand smoke, I feel like part of non-smokers' freedom is taken. We are at risk for health problems with secondhand smoke along with other environmental problems, but smoking is one we can control by making a choice. I can't say it is a right or wrong choice to choose to smoke, but for those who choose not to smoke and consider their overall health are losing that freedom, for example, to keep a healthy heart or lungs by all the secondhand smoke affecting them, even after making their own choice to stay away from smoking cigarettes. I feel as if those who smoke should consider the health issues that come along with cigarettes, not only to themselves, but to others around them, especially children. They haven't been able to experience the real world like adults have, and to be able to make their own life decisions, so why should we put them in harm's way? Secondhand smoke can cause serious health problems in children. Studies show that older children whose parents smoke get sick more often. Their lungs grow less than children who do not breathe secondhand smoke, and they get more bronchitis and pneumonia. Wheezing and coughing are more common in children who breathe secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke can trigger an asthma attack in a child. Children with asthma who are around secondhand smoke have more severe and frequent asthma attacks. A severe asthma attack can put a child's life in danger. Children whose parents smoke around them get more ear infections. They also have fluid in their ears and more often and have more operations to put in ear tubes for drainage. Another health issue in children caused by secondhand smoke is sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. SIDS is the sudden, unexplained, unexpected death of an infant in the first year of life. SIDS is the leading cause of death in otherwise healthy infants. Secondhand smoke increases the risk for SIDS. Smoking by women during pregnancy increases the risk for SIDS. Infants who are exposed to secondhand smoke after birth are also greater risk for SIDS. Chemicals in secondhand smoke appear to affect the brain in ways that interfere with the regulation of infants' breathing. Infants who die from SIDS have higher concentrations of nicotine in their lungs and higher levels of cotinine, a biological marker for secondhand smoke exposure, than infants who die from other causes. We try to find ways to keep our younger generation out of trouble and to get good grades, but what about their health? Adults tend to know a little more about the health issues that come along with smoking and secondhand smoke. But if our children aren't taught and unwillingly exposed to it, how will they know? According to Philip Morris USA, particular care should be exercised where children are concerned. Adults should avoid smoking around children. Philip Morris USA agrees that people should be able to avoid being around secondhand smoke, particularly in places where they must go, such as public buildings, public transportation, and many areas in the workplace. The company also believes that the public should be guided by the conclusions of public health officials regarding the health effects of secondhand smoke when deciding whether to be in places when secondhand smoke is present. The conclusions of public health officials concerning environmental tobacco smoke are sufficient to warrant certain measures that regulate smoking. Where smoking is permitted, the government should require warning notices that communicate public health officials conclusions that secondhand smoke causes diseases in non-smokers. According to 2 separate studies, recent laws that limit smoking in public places are contributing to fewer tobacco-related hospital visits and deaths. In 2009, the Institute of Medicine concluded that smoking bans contributed to fewer heart problems in areas where the policies were implemented, but the panel was unable to determine how much the benefit the laws provided. The new research provides some objective improvements in lower heart attack rates, and adds to a growing body of evidence for the tangible effect of stricter smoke-free laws across the U.S. and all around the world. I don't believe a complete ban from smoking should be considered because, again, we have the right to choose to smoke or not, but bans in certain public areas should be in place. Stanton Glantz, director of the Center for Tobacco Control Research and Education at UCSF and the senior study author of the circulation paper, has argued previously that smoke-free laws work to improve health not only because they protect non-smokers from harmful health effects of secondhand smoke, but they also protect smokers by discouraging them from smoking as much or even encouraging them to quit. In conclusion, it is clear that it should be made illegal to smoke in public places. This would improve the health of thousands of people, and that is most definitely a positive development.